Hey, good afternoon to you. 506 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL.
The fact that momentum seems to be taking them to Virginia, do you look at this all as a referendum on your leadership and the council's leadership over the past couple of years?
No, as I mentioned, and I'm just using the words that I heard earlier, is that the team has choices, and if they want an urban campus, they will make a choice for the district. Because we have put on the table what they need to make that happen.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser this morning reacting to the news that it looks like the Wizards and the Capitals will be picking up and leaving town, headed for Northern Virginia. At least that was the announcement this morning. Bowser says this is not a referendum on her leadership. I don't know about that. Let's bring in the Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Winsome Sears. She joins us now. Hello, Madam Lieutenant Governor.
Well, hello, Vince, and hello to your listeners. It's a great day in Virginia, indeed.
Well, it's great to have you with us on this subject. So, first of all, you must be excited, both you and the governor, to have some, big-time sports teams moving to Northern Virginia.
Listen, this is an excellent time for us, and you got to give credit to the governor because it is the first time in 50 years that Virginia will have a major league sports franchise. And get this, we're not just going to have one, we're going to have two coming at one time. And I think that is historic, that no other governor has been able to do that. And frankly, we're going to get a lot out of this. This is going to be exciting if, the General Assembly goes through with the deal.
Yes. All right. So let me ask you about how certain this deal is. The way it's being described today in the press is that it's non-binding and that it's not a done deal, but that Governor Youngkin felt confident enough about it to step out in front of the microphone and announce it today. How certain are you that this is going to go through, that the Wizards and the Capitals are moving to Virginia?
Well, nothing is certain, but we are far enough down the road where the Wizards and the Capitals, the monumental sports enterprise, decided that Virginia was the best place to bring their teams, that we would have win-win situations. They want to move their headquarters here. That's 600-plus employees. We're talking about this deal will eventually create 30,000 jobs. We're talking about an economic impact to the tune of about $12 billion over about a 40-year operation cycle. There are revenues that are coming there, that the Commonwealth, and when I say Commonwealth, let's just break it down. Taxpayers will not be coming out of pocket for, because this thing will pay for itself through team lease payments. We're talking about the on-site parking revenue, the naming rights, and the owner is himself going to put in $403, I think, about $1 million into the project. So, yes, people can, we can go back and forth on particulars, but this is a pretty good deal. We're going to talk, we've got 44 home games per team, 44 home games per team. And in a 20,000-seat arena, you do the math. There's money there. And I think this is a great deal.
So what did Virginia offer in order to get this deal done?
Well, from what I understand, the owners of the team, they will own the concert venue. They will own the housing that's going to be developed. Of course, they're going to own the land. They're going to have to put their own funds into it, of course, as I said before. Mm-hmm. But of course, we get something too. Everybody has to put a little bit in. But for us as taxpayers, there will be currently there will be no tax increases for local residents, and the Commonwealth itself will not be putting up any upfront money. We will be a net gainer. And when I say we're talking about the taxpayers. Look, I'm from a third world country, Vince. And when we're talking about money, I want to know how this thing is going to work. And I'm also a taxpayer, and I want to make sure every bit of my tax money is being used properly. And this is how we're going to ensure that we're going to have a good deal for the taxpayer.
Now, Muriel Bowser did say, the D.C. mayor, this morning, that last night they presented their best and final offer, which is $500 million in cash to renovate the Capital One Arena. Why do you think, in your view, that Ted Leonsis and Monumental want to move these teams out of D.C. and into Virginia? Is there something about D.C. they're getting away from?
Well, deals like this, it's not just about money. Sure, money is a part of it, but you've got to talk about the environs. Where are the team? Where are the teams going to play? What is the venue going to be about? What is the surrounding area of the venue? If you go to a game and you're having fun, but you leave the game and now you're having to look over your shoulder, that's an issue. We have congressmen and women who have experienced crime in D.C. So it's all about all of that. And what our governor, Youngkin, has been saying is he wants Virginia to be the best place to live, work, and raise a family. We know that crime in Virginia is, well, not compared to some places. We're doing a whole lot better. We don't have the smash and grabs that sometimes D.C. does. We don't have some of the issues that D.C. does. So, we're just saying that we're glad that they have chosen to come to Virginia. And by the way, let me just say this. We hope that the new Democratic majority will continue the business-friendly policies that our administration has started.
And finally, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, are you going to be okay if they keep their names as the Washington Wizards and the Washington Capitals, or are you looking for them to change the names of these teams to accommodate their new homes?
Well, I'm sure the governor will be doing some negotiating on that. But yes, hey, we're going to get the money. We're going to get the jobs. Did I say 30,000 jobs eventually? We'll be fine. We'll be just fine. I'm looking forward to how this whole thing shakes out. But, so far it's gone through the MEI authority, and they have approved it, and now it just has to come to the General Assembly, and we hope that we can do a good negotiation, a win-win.
Amen. All right, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Always nice to talk to you, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Vince.
Good to talk to you as always. All right, so let's take this conversation to where things began. That was this morning. We were getting indications late yesterday. In fact, during our program yesterday, we started to get the word that it looked like, oh my goodness, it looks like a deal is coming through for Virginia to obtain both of these teams, the Washington Wizards as well as the Washington Capitals. It is funny. Apparently, Michael Wilbon, the sports commentator, was complaining about the fact that the Wizards might not actually be in D.C. Now, I should point out that by and large, Wizards games don't typically even have people at them. There's very few fans going to Wizards games. It's been a while since the Wizards have been at the top of the headlines for some successes. I think the last big thing was they were owned by Michael Jordan for a time. But beyond that, it's been a while. And so here's Wilbon complaining about all of this.
Tony, I'm not sure what you think about this. We haven't discussed it yet, but this revelation that Ted Leonsis and Monumental Sports are going to move the Wizards out of the city. The NBA, a city sport, out of Washington, D.C. to Virginia, that is awful. I'm just hearing about this, the reporting in the Washington Post. You're going to take the city sport out of the city, turn your back on Washington, D.C., and go to Virginia? Really? What does that say to your fan base that has been loyal despite 0 years of contention for that franchise for a championship? Really?
What is he talking about? A city sport? Is the National Hockey League not a city sport? Only basketball is a city sport? What is he even talking about? Who knows? But anyway, I thought that clip was funny. But let me this announcement this morning. You've got Glenn Youngkin steps up to the microphone alongside Ted Leonsis, and joining me now is the on-the-scene reporter for the Vince Coglianese show. Our very own Corey Inganamort was there this morning. Corey, what was it like to see these guys make an announcement that turns out is at the moment non-binding?
It was interesting. I went in with an open mind. I'm still not entirely sure, if I love this idea of the teams moving to Virginia. I live in Virginia. I do want to see the city of D.C. succeed.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard to see them recover from this. It's going to take probably decades. And as a Virginia taxpayer, we just heard the lieutenant governor say that the owners are putting $400 million into the project. But Glenn Youngkin this morning said that it's going to cost $2 billion. It's a $2 billion sports complex. So if I do my math, that's $1.6 billion that is unaccounted for. I guess taxpayers are going to be fronting this bill. It's going to be interesting to see if it pays off. We're always sold, this is going to revitalize the area. Alexandria seems to be doing pretty well as it is.
Yeah, it's not only one of the richest counties in America.
FedEx Field, when they built that stadium, Washingtonians were sold as it's going to revitalize Landover, Maryland, and it's going to be a destination everybody really, really, really wants to go to. Nobody wants to go to Landover, Maryland. That didn't really help the area just because they built a stadium. So I do have some concerns. There's going to be a hell of a lot more traffic.
Yes.
The George Washington Parkway is already a nightmare. We'll see how this plays out. I have mixed feelings about whether this is going to be a good move for both. Well, definitely not D.C., but I have some concerns about Virginians too.
Yeah, I'm always suspicious of everybody. Like, I kind of wonder what Ted Leonsis' game is, because if this is not an official deal, and of course, you heard from the Lieutenant Governor just say a moment ago that some of this needs the approval of the General Assembly. So for that reason, it's not an official deal. But beyond that, the fact that they can't come to an all but official deal, it does strike you that that Leonsis is really continuing to try this negotiation, but with more aggressive tactics now. Okay, I'm going to stand up next to the outgoing governor of Virginia, a guy who's not running for re-election because he's not allowed to. That's how Virginia operates. And I'm going to make an announcement that we have a done deal. We're going to release maps and pictures and everything that's happening. We're going to announce timelines. We're going to make it seem like it's a done deal. Meanwhile, Mayor Muriel Bowser is still operating today as if it's still an open negotiation. This is the way she was speaking today. She said this, that we know our deal is the best.
We know that our deal is the best. We think it's the best for Monumental, quite frankly. We know it's the best for our fans. We know it's the best for the city, and quite frankly, we think it's the best for the entire DMV.
So as far as she's concerned, she still thinks she's in the game.
It sure seems that way. And, full disclosure, I used to work for the Washington Capitals about 10 years. Ted Leonsis, I can't say I trust the guy that well. This is a guy who in June sold 5% of his company to this country of Qatar, the country who's harboring Hamas terrorists right now. This is a guy who fired my coworkers because they wouldn't get boosted after their double vaccination. I have a feeling this might not be a done deal. I overheard Governor Youngkin and Ted Leonsis, they rushed out of the room after the press conference was over. Senator Mark Warner was there taking a few questions from reporters. One person was shouting, "Is this a done deal? Has anything been signed? Has anything been signed?" And he completely avoided the question. He heard it undoubtedly, but he kept going to somebody else. He never answered this question. I have some doubts whether this is actually a done deal yet.
Well, also, I did wonder, if you're just wondering about the basics about what the Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears just said, crime. I was texting you this morning about this. I said we've got to know about crime. To what extent is crime in D.C. and around the Capital One arena playing a role in some of the decisions here? Now, these guys did not take any questions this morning. Right?
No questions, and even in each of their presentations, the mayor spoke, the mayor of Alexandria, Governor Youngkin, Mark Warner, all of them spoke. Crime was not mentioned one time throughout the entire press conference. And it was the monkey the elephant in the room, excuse me. The elephant, everyone was wondering, is this the reason why you're leaving? Is this the reason why you're leaving? I would think so, but it was never mentioned. So I don't know.
Now, there was a funny moment this morning on that issue of crime. Here's Muriel Bowser today reacting to the news. And it turns out she doesn't actually know which metro stops end up where.
Look, I'm the DC mayor. I'm not an expert on that crime, but that traffic is notorious, so people know about it. And I think, which lines go to that station?
Blue and yellow.
Blue and yellow. So every line goes to Gallery Place, right? Red, blue, orange, and yellow. Yellow and green. Is that right? I think that's right.
That is wrong. That's completely wrong. She's the mayor of Washington, D.C., and she doesn't realize that Gallery Place is a stopping point for the red, yellow, and green lines. That is where everybody stops. L'Enfant Plaza is what she's thinking of. They finished the rest of the lines off. But this is Muriel Bowser. She's like, She's up there saying she doesn't even know what metro stops she has in the city.
And she's bragging that people can take the metro, but we saw yesterday they're considering major budget cuts to metro because no one wants to come into the city because of crime. Also, the problem is that the government's reaction to COVID, they didn't have any of their federal employees come to work, so everyone started working remotely. There is no reason to come into D.C. anymore, and now it's going to be harder. Apparently, trains are only going to run every 15 minutes. They're cutting 2,000 some odd employees, potentially cutting 10 different stations. So
if they don't get the money that they want, yeah.
Exactly. I think they're operating at a $750 million deficit each year. It doesn't seem like a great selling point to me. You take the metro. Well, the metro is barely going to exist in a couple months, it sounds like, anyway.
Oh, man, you're really selling Northern Virginia now. All right. Well, thank you, Corey and Inganamort, for covering that for us this morning. Let's take a phone call. Michael, North Carolina, line 1. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, Vince.
Hey, sir.
Hi, Vince. I'm a native Washingtonian, and this is reminiscent to me of Mayor Kelly's inability years ago to deal with Jack Kent Cooke. Since she was unable to do that, she birthed Raljon and the disaster that's currently FedEx Field.
Yeah.
The current mayor of the District of Columbia is totally responsible for the collapse of this disastrous move to Virginia, ostensibly, if they end up doing it. This is terrible for the District of Columbia. The Capitol Arena is one end of the key to between the convention center,
yes,
between the convention center on one side and the Capitol Arena on the other.
No question. Hey, Mike, I'm sorry, we got to run. I agree with you entirely, and I do wonder what's going to happen to Chinatown if you lose the Capitals. They say the Mystics are going to move there. Oh, yeah, that'll help. All right, coming up, Obamaworld is panicking about Biden's future. The details ahead. Oh, hey, good afternoon to you. Let's make that 5:35 now. 5:35 here on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We're making sense of the news. You can join us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL on another big news day. We've got a bunch of updates for you. Hunter Biden defying a congressional subpoena today. It looks like contempt of Congress referrals coming for him. The House is still in the process of moving towards that Biden impeachment inquiry vote today. Just so much going on. And also, I've got an update for you. Obamaworld is very much souring on Joe Biden. They don't think he can win this thing. Even if they steal the election, they don't know if it'll be enough. I've got the update for you coming up. But first, to the phones we go. Line 4 is where we find Donna in Frederick. Donna calling in today. Donna, good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon. I really enjoyed that interview with you and Corey. I tend to think that some of that might have a little bit to do with the crime rate in D.C. I mean, it is quite astronomical when you think about it.
I know, and it was amazing that it didn't come up. This is why I was Corey texts me this morning, and he says, hey, I'm on my way to this press conference to see Glenn Youngkin and Ted Leonsis announce the move of these teams. And I texted back immediately, and I said, I want to know about crime. I want to know what role crime played in this decision. Mm-hmm. And, of course, neither man brought it up, apparently, during the statements, and nobody took any questions, although you did hear the lieutenant governor just say moments ago, Donna, that you have to look over your shoulder when you're in Washington, D.C. They've got an immense crime problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? I think, unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of this throughout this coming year, especially with the election around the corner. And, yeah, Obama should panic. You know, he's sitting in the basement. He's sitting all comfy. I think those days are going to be coming to an end. And I don't think anything's going to stop what's coming. I think as the people have awakened to all the nonsense and the absolute ripoff that we, the people, have been dealt with for so many decades, it's just really outlandish. I still can't believe that we're still going through it because it feels like an eternity to me. But, you know, I was listening to the talking head politicians yesterday, Mitch McConnell and crew, And I wanted to just gag. I'm so sick of the same old garbage. They want to lump in multiple things in bills. God forbid we have one clean bill with one specific topic. And I think, honestly, Vince, it is time for such a change. And I welcome Democrats and independents and people who can reason their way through to find the sanity again, because this is really crazy.
It's maddening, isn't it?
We all know.
Doesn't it drive you crazy, Donna? Doesn't it drive you crazy how wide open our border is? And it feels like it's pulling teeth to get anybody in Washington to notice. And if they do, it's like, okay, fine, we'll address the border, but only if we pass $60 billion more for Ukraine. Those are the circumstances in which we'll even think about our border.
Yes, and that was a point I was going to make, is the border should be the number one priority. I feel bad about what's going on in these other countries, but I'm also looking at these politicians going, I wonder who's beyond some of these proxy wars. Some of the ones we're funding, and yet we're also trying to give them relief packages. The whole thing, it just gets down to that invisible hand and the money changers.
Yeah,
and the
stinks.
Sooner the electorate realizes it, the better off we're going to be, and we're well on our way.
Oh, hey, Donna, I heard you have some good news in your life. Something interesting is going on for you. What's going on, Donna?
I'm going to be a grandmother.
Well, that is fantastic
news. I'm going to be a great granddad.
That is so great. Well, Donna, you deserve it. That's wonderful news. Congratulations to you and your family. I love hearing that, Donna. And when will you be a grandmother? How soon?
Thank you. In the summer.
How soon? Well, you're already, actually, technically, you're already a grandmother. Let's be honest about that. But the baby is coming in the summer. That's wonderful news. Well, congratulations, Donna.
Yep. Thank you. I just hope the country stays together. I hope things don't get too crazy.
Yeah.
And my family has had a lot of babies come into the world this year, so it's very exciting. Despite all the crazy, there's still a lot of good.
Yep, I agree with you. And having a child or a grandchild makes you all the more interested in what the future of your country looks like. So thank you, Donna. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah. All right. That's Donna. You can hear her live on WMAL on frequent occasions across all of our shows. Thank you, Donna, for your many calls.
My pleasure. We love you guys.
Amen. God bless you. All right. Let's see. We've got Alice calling in for Potomac now. Alice, good afternoon. You are on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call. And I wanted to chime in on this questioning why we would move the CAP Center, et cetera, out of D.C. I go to the dentist in D.C. She's also been my friend for over 30 years and my dentist all that time. But when I take the Metro to go into the dentist, I carry my pepper spray in my hand at all times. I'm 75 years old and vulnerable, and that's the only way I'll go in. I don't even want my husband to drive into D.C. because I don't want him to be carjacked. So anyone who wonders why they want to get it out of D.C., any of these venues, they're out of their mind if they don't know why.
Is it weird to be on the Metro? What do you see when you're riding the Metro these days, Alice? I know one of the things, it's been a bit since I've rode the Metro on a routine basis, but I talk to people and they're like, yeah, everyone's jumping the turnstiles. It's like completely lawless. It's Mad Max now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen people jump the turnstiles all the time. And I don't know why the officials don't go after them, but they don't. I suppose they don't want to get shot. But I always make my appointments in the middle of the day, so it's not rush hour. I see a lot of young people that look like they're perhaps on their way to school or whatever, but I try my best to be on the Metro when it's safer. I don't know, why would anyone go downtown anymore? I would love to go downtown to some of the restaurants, my husband and I, but why chance it?
It's a great city, and they're destroying it, aren't they? So how long have you been here in D.C., Alice?
Oh, we've lived, we're out in Potomac. We've lived in both Rockville and Potomac since 1977. We're Midwesterners originally.
Sure. But you've seen the city change a lot over that time frame.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we used to go in for, the St. Patrick's Day parade. We've been to inaugurations, but not now. Not until things change. So
yeah, not
I'm
until
really
they stop.
sorry to see
Not,
it.
not until like we get a mayor who doesn't paint Black Lives Matter on the streets as a ransom payment to the people who are destroying her city.
Exactly. I agree fully. And thank you for having this this stage for us to give our opinions and tell the truth, because there's a lot of people not telling the truth out there.
Well, we love you guys so much. Alice, thank you. Yeah, we've got the best audience in radio. It's really, truly the best. Alice, thank you very much.
Thanks. Keep up the good work. Bye-bye.
Thank you. God bless. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I mean, my guess is Ted Leonsis is a little bit more financially motivated than he is criminally motivated, but that is worthy of consideration. If you're worried about fan experience at all, you may want to think about what are the chances my fans are carjacked when they arrive at this game. Hoke in Round Hill now, line 3. We'll take Hoke's call here. Hoke, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Hey, look, I think Mayor Bowser's been hanging out with Corinne Jean-Pierre because she was asked a question today about maybe it's a crime in D.C. that's causing this, and she went off about how the metro sucks to Virginia.
She didn't even know. She didn't even know what lines stopped at Gallery Place, Hoke.
Maybe none of them do anymore because of all the crime. But, I just don't understand these Democrats and their complete. I guess that they're not held to account by anybody in the media, so they can just go off on something that's not even the subject, and they just let them do it.
Well, that is true. They become dull because nobody asks them interesting questions. That's another.
There's no follow-up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
No follow-up.
Hoke.
It is. It is unfortunate.
Hoke, thank you. So Hoke thinks that she's been hanging around with Corinne. That may be why she was answering these questions so poorly today. Let's get to why Obamaworld is freaking out about Biden now. John Sexton over at Hot Air, a headline today. Axelrod, polling is very, very dark for Biden. That's the headline. David Axelrod has not been holding back on his concerns about Joe Biden's poll numbers. Last month, he pointed to some polling and argued that Biden might want to think about getting out of the race. The tweet, this is from November 5th. Only Joe Biden can make this decision. If he continues to run, he will be the nominee of the Democratic Party. What he needs to decide is whether that is wise, whether it's in his best interest or the country's. This is David Axelrod. Now, David Axelrod might as well be Obama himself saying this. Axelrod is one of, if not the most important figures in Obama's ability to navigate his way into the Oval Office. It's just true. When Obama was starting his political career after he was a state senator in Illinois, where he voted president on everything and tried to avoid creating any sort of state legislative record for himself. And then he decided to run for United States Senate. He did it with the help of David Axelrod, who was a guy who had worked for a long time at the Chicago Tribune. And given his access to the Tribune, isn't it interesting that the Tribune goes to court and they sue for the release of Obama's Republican opponents' divorce records? Divorce records. The guy's name was Jack Ryan. He was a Republican candidate. And his divorce records were sealed. Both he and his ex-wife wanted to keep them sealed. And it appears that Axelrod was likely the guy who had a hand in this. But the Chicago Tribune successfully was able to unseal those divorce records, and they revealed that Ryan and his ex-wife had apparently gone to sex clubs of some kind at some point in their lives. And he was chased out of the race because of the scandal. Now, it's funny to think about now. Now we have straight-up porn stars continue to stay in their races and come very close to winning in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But in this case, you had a guy, a Republican, who was chased out of the race because of the sex scandal involving his ex-wife. And that was, that's the Axelrod way. And it's been that way forever. He's been kind of a dirty political operator behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. He's been one of the big strategists for Obama's political career. Very close to him. So he's been saying that Joe Biden should think about dropping out of this race. Recently, Axelrod said that Biden only had a 50-50 shot at winning. This is what John Sexton points out, which is not the sort of thing Democrats want to hear about the guy who's their nominee. Yesterday, Axelrod was at it again. This time he was talking about a recent Wall Street Journal poll on his podcast called Hacks on Tap, which he co-hosts with Democrats Robert Gibbs and Mike Murphy. The Wall Street, quote, the Wall Street Journal was, very, very dark from a Biden standpoint, he said. Job approval, down. Ratings, generally down. Most of the comparatives with Trump, not good. And the one that I think was the most alarming from my standpoint was when they asked if Biden's policies and Trump policies were, when they were president, were helpful to people. Only 23% of voters say that Biden's policies have helped them personally, while 53% said they had been hurt by the president's agenda. By contrast, about half of voters say Trump's policies when he was president helped them personally. More than 37% who said they were hurt. What I worry about you guys, from a Biden standpoint, is these are the kinds of things you get where people are starting to rationalize their votes. So what he's freaking out about, what Axelrod is freaking out about, is voters are beginning to make rational judgments about Trump and Biden. Voters are beginning to, quote, rationalize their votes, where they look at their own economic circumstances and they say, boy, things were a lot better under Trump. A lot better. Things are a lot worse under Biden. And unless you are completely overwhelmed by the propaganda here, and you've joined a cult of some kind where your mind is not clear thinking on this subject, the reality is almost every American is worse off now. Almost everyone. You'd have to be Joe Biden himself to not be in this category. Almost every American is worse off now than they were 4 years ago. And it's showing up in all of the polls. So the 37% who say they were better off under Biden, who are better off under Biden than they were under Trump, either they are rich cronies of the Biden administration or they're lying to themselves. They've purchased the MSNBC, New York Times, CNN propaganda, and they've decided that they're going to stick with that forever. They're not going to take an inventory of it. They're not going to look any more closely. They're not going to reassess their priors. They're not going to evolve in any meaningful way. They're not going to do any sort of examination of the facts. Oh, it turns out Donald Trump was not as awful as they told me. Turns out the authoritarianism is actually coming from the left. It's not coming from the right. On and on and on. All of the obvious things you would look at if you were making a good faith assessment of your political circumstances and who you should support. 37% are just dug in. They're like, I just hate Trump with such a passion. I can't even bring myself to admit to a pollster that I was better under him than I am under Biden. But here you have even David Axelrod going, hey, maybe it's time to grab the hook and yank this guy off of the stage. Which, to me, suggests that this is still a jump ball. Do you honestly at this moment think that Joe Biden is going to make it all the way to Election Day as the Democrat nominee? Now, he may very well they may have him at the convention. He'll give the nominating speech or whatever. Maybe Kamala will do it on his behalf because he's sick that day or something. But the idea is Biden is supposed to be the nominee, but don't you get the sense it's a jump ball? It's a coin toss right now. What that's really going to look like. And I don't know if it's going to be Gavin Newsom. I'm not even going to pretend to make a meaningful prediction here, other than to say I'm not convinced that Biden's the guy all the way through. Especially when you have Obamaworld saying, maybe it's time to go. Maybe it's time to go. And how does that manifest itself? Well, I'd hate to be Joe Biden.
You said that President Biden was familiar with what his son was going to say on Capitol Hill. If I called my dad and said, I am about to violate a congressional subpoena, he'd probably say, son, you shouldn't do that. Was there any attempt by President Biden to talk Hunter out of it today?
You're going to call your dad Steve?
Call him Dad, usually.
A little joke from Corinne. No answer, though. It's obvious. Like a normal father would be like, hey, don't break the law. Not the Bidens. Not the Bidens. That did not come up. Breaking the law? That's what we do as Bidens. It's a Biden family tradition. Hey, the House, the breaking news here, has voted to officially open the Biden impeachment inquiry, which is just another way of saying they're going to keep doing what they've already been doing, but they took a floor vote, so I guess something changed. Not exactly sure what, but something changed. Hey, the great one, Mark Levin, is the exact guy to listen to as he explains all of the day's news. He's up next right here on WMAL.